Hello everyone, this is another employment law update on the launch of the government's Kickstart Scheme, which was initially announced by the Chancellor as part of his summer 2020 economic update. So the Kickstart Scheme is creating an unlimited number of 6-month work placements, and it's aimed specifically at those aged 16 to 24 who are on universal credit and at risk of long-term unemployment. So funding available for each job covers 100% of the relevant minimum wage for 25 hours of work each week, plus NI and pension costs. In addition, there is also a payment of up to £1,500 for set-up costs, support and training. The aim of the scheme is to support participants to develop the skills and experience they need to find work after completing the scheme. Now, for employers to apply, they must create a minimum of 30 work placements. If they can't do that, so if there are fewer than 30, they must partner with other employers, local authorities, chambers of commerce, trade bodies or registered charities, or become an employer representative themselves on behalf of other groups. The job placements have to be new jobs. They can't replace existing or planned vacancies. They can't cause existing employees or contractors to lose or reduce their employment, and they can't require any applicants to undertake extensive training before they start the job. Each application, so each proposed placement, should include how the employer will help the participants to develop skills and experience, including support to look for long-term work, support with the CV and interview, and support with basic skills such as attendance and timekeeping. Once a placement is created, it can be taken up by a second person after that 6-month term is completed by the first participant. So as an employer, if you do have fewer than 30 placements, you can become a representative, which will allow you to club together with other organisations and create these placements under the Kickstart scheme. To do so, you have to show that you have experience of managing partnership agreements with third parties, though, and that you have robust financial and governance processes in place. I think most commonly for smaller employers, what you're going to be doing is looking at maybe your Chamber of Commerce or your trade body, if you're part of a trade association, clubbing together with those and looking to create opportunities for placements through those types of organisations. There is now a link on the government website for making applications directly. If you are looking at clubbing together with others, you can contact the Job Centre Employer Partnership team who can help find those partnerships for you. Once an application is made, it will be reviewed by the Kickstart team. They will look at whether the placement meets the scheme's criteria, and the aim is that from putting the application in, they're looking at a 1-month turnaround before you can continue with that process. So the idea is if the application is successful, what you've done then is created a legitimate placement opportunity. You'll be provided with a grant agreement which confirms what you've agreed to provide and how much funding you'll receive from the scheme. That has to then be signed and returned, and at that point you as the employer can then provide job descriptions and confirm how the job can be applied for. I understand that the young people who are eligible for these roles will be matched for any available jobs via the Job Centre and the support workers that are there, and they will then contact you as the employer to progress their application. Now, if that placement application doesn't meet the requirements of the scheme, feedback will be given and a further application can be submitted. There's no right of appeal. Now, once candidates have applied for any job, the employer can choose who to employ. Obviously, the employer will only obtain funding if they appoint a young person that the Kickstart scheme has introduced. Now, when the applicant has started work, is employed on payroll and is being paid through PAYE, the employer will receive the initial setup costs of up to £1,500 per applicant. The DWP will use information from HMRC to check that person is still employed, and will then start to pay the grant for the wages up to 25 hours in arrears, and the DWP may well contact the employer and the young person during the placement to ensure that everything's working properly. So there is quite a lot to go through, and quite a significant time scale in terms of starting with creating a placement right through to engaging with an applicant. But we have prepared a guide. This video will be available publicly, and hopefully many employers will start to make use of the scheme.